We're currently in an era where every series that was once popular is making a comeback, with some certainly more successful than others. And in July 2025, it was made official that Scrubs, the fantastic, albeit criminally underrated comedy drama, was coming back to our screens, with Zach Braff, Donald Faison, and Sarah Chalke returning. Television is in a different space compared to when Scrubs last aired, but thankfully, despite making key changes to fit with the modern TV landscape, Scrubs remains just as relevant, emotional, and most importantly, hilarious as it ever has, which is not something that I would have predicted a year ago. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down why I believe that this was such a successful reboot, and not just another cheap play for nostalgia. And just for a heads up, this discussion will contain major spoilers. So before we start talking about this reboot, I've got to be upfront with my relationship with the original 8-season run of the series, as that has unquestionably impacted my appreciation of this reboot. Despite Scrubs never being the most highly viewed series of its era, and somehow never winning a major Emmy award, Scrubs might just be my favourite series ever, or at the very least, it's my all-time favourite comedy. I love the way that it was able to blend zany comedy with genuinely heartfelt and deeply emotional moments. It's one of the only series that I've watched all the way through multiple times, and I fully expect to be laughing, crying, and smiling at Scrubs until I'm grey and old. So this reboot had a lot to do to win me over, because season 8 was the perfect way to finish off the series. This reboot season takes place roughly 15 years after JD left Sacred Heart, with him now working as a concierge doctor and looking after elderly patients. His marriage with Elliot is over, and he's once again looking for meaning in his life. When one of his patients is admitted to Sacred Heart, JD heads there to check up on her, and is reunited with his former colleagues, friends, and ex-wife. It brings back so many great memories of working there for JD, so when a clearly burned out Dr. Cox offers him a job, he's unable to turn it down. However, it's revealed that the job JD will be taking is in fact Dr. Cox's, with him now taking the role as Chief of Medicine. Whilst there are a lot of returning characters, this reboot provides us with a lot of newcomers to the series, including a new generation of interns, new nursing staff, a new head of HR, and more. Scrubs' main strength has always been its characters, and despite not playing these characters for so long, the actors are able to slip back into their roles effortlessly. Zach Braff is exactly what you'd expect as JD, still as charming and neurotic. Same with Sarah Chalke as Elliot. They're both excellent. It doesn't feel like they're just attempting to do their old thing. They're doing it well, and it still feels natural. The only difference is that they've got a lot more wrinkles now. But the same cannot be said for Donald Faison as Turk, who has somehow barely aged a day since Scrubs went off air. He's still looking so young and fresh. Same with Carla, honestly. But the most important thing is that they're able to convey their roles in a way that still feels believable. They can pull off the comedy just as well as the more tender moments. Dr. Cox has a more limited role in the reboot, but honestly, it was just nice to see him on screen again. I'll argue until I'm dead that he's one of the most perfectly cast characters in comedy. It's also nice to see returning characters like the Todd and Hooch, who pop up every now and then. There was a lot of speculation about if we would see the return of the janitor. He was always a fan favourite, and we had to wait for the season finale for him to arrive. He was just as ridiculous as ever, and clearly they're purely for fan service, but it was definitely appreciated. I suspect that that's the last we'll see of him, but I'm perfectly fine with that. However, the reboot spent a lot of time building up the new characters, such as the new interns, who I'm more lukewarm about. They were fine and perfectly likeable, but generally I didn't feel like they had really unique and distinct personalities. For me, they were just a little bit undercooked. Like, I couldn't care less about the romantic dynamic between Asher and Amara. I expect these characters to flourish more in future seasons, so I won't be too critical. My favourite of the interns was Sam, played by Ava Bunn. She's there to highlight how obsessed the youth of today are with social media and being terminally online, and I was initially concerned that she'd become a bit cliche, but they're just about able to navigate it so that she still feels like a real character, whilst being really funny. I thought she was a great addition to the season, and whenever she was on screen, I wasn't thinking, can't we just get back to JD and Turk, like I was at times with the other interns. But unquestionably, my favourite of the new characters was Sibby. played by Vanessa Bayer. She's the new head of HR and wellness specialist, and I thought she was absolutely brilliant. The world has changed so much over the last few years. You can't get away with things like you used to, so she's always pulling up JD, Dr. Cox, and unsurprisingly the Todd for saying and doing things that are now considered inappropriate. She's there to parody modern HR culture, and her line delivery was always on point. I just loved the way that she would say everything with a huge smile on her face. Honestly, she cracked me up all season. Something else that I particularly liked about this season is that it acknowledges that there has been a huge gap between seasons, rather than ignoring it. Great focus is given to the passage of time, with the characters now being at a very different point in their lives. Naturally, the aging of the main characters is used for comedic effect all throughout the season, with JD and Tech no longer able to do the eagle without them both injuring themselves. And whilst we've seen these characters since they were in their early 20s, now they're pushing 50 and completely out of touch with the modern generation of young doctors. But it doesn't overdo it when making jokes about their age, as this could easily become tiring. This season is genuinely funny in the way that we've come to expect from Scrubs, so props need to be given to the writers for giving the performers some strong material to work with. Scrubs always had a wonderful balance between comedy and drama. Maintaining that balance was vital for this to be a successful reboot. Early on in the season, the more serious moments didn't quite hit for me, particularly with the new characters, but as the season progressed, the comedy began to hit more, and I started to feel the weight of the more somber moments. Episode 7, called My Best Friend's Barbecue, I found to be a real standout. It had everything you'd want and expect from Scrubs. It's hilarious, with some great ongoing gags, whilst having some genuine and emotional beats, relating to Carla dealing with the menopause and feeling like a failure. She doesn't get an awful lot of screen time this season, but this episode reminded me of what a terrific actress she is. And in typical Scrubs fashion, the episode featured a lovely closing song that built on the themes of the episode. Scrubs always use music so effectively, and they've not lost that ability. As mentioned earlier, Dr. Cox isn't in the show a whole lot this season, with the character taking a long break after the premiere, but when he returns, we're quickly reminded why he was such a crucial part of the show. Bringing Dr. Cox back in episode 8 was always going to please the fans, but they did it in a way that didn't feel forced. The viewers have grown so attached to this character. We've seen past the hard exterior, and know how sensitive he truly is. I get chills just thinking about what he went through in my screw up. So when Dr. Cox finds out that he's sick and leans on JD for support, that emotional moment really hit. Zach Braff and John C. McGinley were in top form here. Ultimately, this season is a success because it doesn't feel like a reboot just for the sake of it. As is the case with any reboot, it needs to justify its existence, and for me, it absolutely does. The season takes a bit of time to find its feet, but by episode 4, it no longer feels like them just attempting to recapture the old magic. This isn't the greatest season of Scrubs ever, the funniest, or the most emotional, but it feels deserving of being associated with that fantastic initial run. Like, there won't be people pretending that this season never happened. Scrubs has always been comfort food for me, a show that made me smile regardless of what was going on in my life. So to have it back and actually be good, yeah, I'm just so happy. So unsurprisingly, the latest season of Scrubs gets 2 thumbs up from me, as it's certainly worth watching. So, what did you think of this Scrubs reboot, and would you like to see them do another season? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time for another video. Goodbye.